Today, we have a very special guest with us, Mrs. Priyanka Bhatkoti. She is an educationist and a principal of Gyanshree School, Noida. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us today.
Vishal sir, thank you. It's a pleasure because any dialogue which makes an impact into the community of parents, teachers, educationists, and the world at large is always a welcome place for any principal to be in.
Thank you, ma'am. Today, the topic of our conversation would be principally yours.
Yes. I am very happy about it because the pun on the word principally, I am happy that you actually put in great stress on that word. It's a matter of principles. It is also a matter of principals who hold extremely influential posts in the world of education because they take care of students and their lives, their success stories matter.
So, tell me something, ma'am. How do uh, parents and schools can collaborate on the mental well-being of a student?
Obviously, when we look at a student walking into the gates of a school for the first time, a student carries hopes and aspirations of the whole family. The moment the first steps are taken itself, from the welcome that the child receives at the school, at the hands of the educators, at the hands of the ground support staff who might be there, sets the flavor of how the educational journey is going to be. A student who bonds well with the school, a school that takes care of the emotional and the intellectual as well as the physical needs of the students out there, is already putting them onto the path of success. Now, look at how that can be done. You can have huge fanfare of fiestas of welcoming students, as well as maybe having very competent trained faculty who know the age appropriate milestones that children should demonstrate into the class and are very observant and very caring, because whether the child is a 3-year old, whether the child is a 13 years old, whether the child is a 15-year-old, where there is warmth, where there is welcome, and where there is genuine care, every child knows.
That is true. I've been to your school and I've seen the kind of the way that I was received in the school. There's so much warmth everywhere. So obviously, it flows from the top-down approach. It trickles down from how the leader is. And I must say that you're doing a fantastic job at Gyanshree School. But it brings me to another question, which is how do you identify the child who's struggling in the class? Are your teachers being trained for that purpose so that early intervention is very good in these mental health aspects?
Uh, One thing which is very important is that the home and the school has to partner together. Yes. Now, when we are talking about mental well-being of children, where some young children may not be able to express what they are experiencing, be it a struggle in learning, be it a struggle in maybe making friends with their peer group, etc., what helps tremendously is paying attention. Now, when you raise that question, yes, teachers do need training to be able to take care of students and their needs. This can be on both levels. One is the psychological aspects, the other is the milestones achievement. And yes, cognition is always been, taken care of in schools because intellectually, marks are usually a benchmark of how well somebody is doing on the academic front. Now, when you have students who have challenges out there are certain things which become very evident, and like I'm very I reiterate on many platforms, the frequency and intensity is what we have to be watchful for. A student appearing withdrawn only once, maybe in the whole year, maybe it's a bad day, that's there. We all have our good days, we have our bad days, but we know that we have to pull through, and that's resilience. But if somebody is demonstrating that withdrawal over a long period of time, not being able to be the normal sense, and as educators, as grown-ups, we can sense it. Sometimes it's physically evident, and sometimes it's also evident in the kind of work that is handed over to us. Students in their illustrations and drawing may be able to share something like a picture can speak of 1,000 words out there. Yes, dark colors coming, that fear being shown of circumstances in those drawings, or in the writing that is coming, there's that tenor of being lost, etc., can be those, red flags that we attune ourselves to. At times, there might be symptoms of aggression out there. And I wouldn't call that over here at certain places. There may be instances of misbehavior as well, to seek attention, which might appear to be that somebody who's trying to take away something from somebody else, which is actually a child crying out for help. So, how does a child who's 3 year old or a 5 year old or a 7 year old says that I'm not feeling too good about myself? Grown ups can't say it because there are so many taboos, there are so many labelings that happen in the world around us, that though we are a progressive world and we are living in a very inclusive world out there, but when it comes to actually accepting people for what they are, how much of an acceptance is there? From the parents to the family to the teacher to the school out there. So once we learn to accept our children unconditionally, that they're ours, our pathway can easily be found. So the two things that I would say that we as educationists and as parents and as a caring community have to do is to pay attention to our children. Yes, at times class strengths might be such that there may be a challenge, but in a whole class, how many children will demonstrate this kind of attention from a teacher or a parent is a minuscule number. And the earlier you identify that this child has this need, this child has this pattern, and start to intervene, bring the counseling, bring the strategies which exist and which bring desired results out there. So the 3 years to 6 years is one key area in foundational. And I'm happy that under the NEP 2020, there's a huge focus on foundational stage learning on students out here through playway, through taking care of mannerisms and routines and behaviors, where these things will factor in.
So, ma'am, this brings me to another interesting point and an important point at that how do, when you identify a child, your teacher has been able to think that there's something, uh, I do not know whether this is the right word or wrong, saying that there's something wrong with the child, or they see that there is a challenge with the child. So when they approach the parents, how do parents react to this?
It's not easy. It's not easy for any person to find out that, okay, there might be a special need or a challenge, because everybody hopes that their child is somebody who's a genius, who's going to do well in the world around. Yes. So when something is brought to the notice that these milestones are not being met, which are age appropriate for whatever reason. At this moment, post the pandemic, the reason could also be simply a gap in learning, because in online learning cannot ever be as effective as offline learning in the school physical mode out there. So for the family, or for especially the parents, and over here I would say even more so for the mother, it is not an easy journey. Now, there are two things. The moment one comes to know that there is something which is not working with the child, one is the child is not responsible for it. You have nature and nurture. In education, we said nature is basically the genetic makeup that you inherit. Yes, we are born into families. We don't choose a family typically, and then there is the nurture part of it, the environment that we are brought up in. Yes, for a child, how much of it is in the child's own hands? None. But the grown-ups around are definitely in control. But when we are living in the present world, certain things have become very easy. At the same point of time, certain things have become very difficult for parents. Success stories or competitions, it is going through unheard levels of competitions and training, which at times is not fair to children, because it sets a kind of competitive expectation from other parents, that my child should also be able to do this and that. The other part is parents wanting to live vicariously through their child, that I did not have this in my childhood, I am giving it all to my child. So what I could not do, my child has to achieve. So the child does not only have their own life to take care of, they also have to fulfill the expectations or unfulfilled expectation of their parents. Now, when in such a scenario you are told that your child is differently abled, has an attention deficit or a hyperactive challenge or a dyslexia or a dyscalculia or a dysgraphia, which might have serious implications for the learning curve of the child out there, it comes as a shock. Some are able to mask it well, some may not be able to mask it so well. Now, in this situation, at every point of time, initially the child is helpless. Yes. Now, where the families have a lot of affection, where there is a lot of support, and I'm going to say it, both the father and mother in such scenarios, and I have seen this happen where people take it in their stride and immediately say, what next, what should we be doing? Reaching out to the school honestly, and the school and educators, because obviously a school or an institution is better catered, better trained to address that need. What should we be doing so that we help our child? Honest dialogues happening, honest sharing happening, that this is where our challenge is, this is what we can do, and this is where we want the school to help. School also reaching out to say that this is what we are doing in school and this is what you can do at home, and meet regularly to match points out there, or our so-called playbook of making a child successful, and check that, okay, this is working, this is not working, because at the end we have to map an individual learning or an educational plan for every child. Yes. Now, the thing is, support systems are available, especially in India. We have done tremendous path-breaking work over here, where acceptance comes fast, where identification comes fast, and consciously and rigorously, whatever strategies are practiced in school and at home, which is more work for grown-ups and easier life for the child, the results are fantastic. Fantastic.
May I interrupt you, ma'am?
Yeah.
I would also be very now intrigued on how you are handling the situation at Gyanshree School.
Okay, we do have a team. We have a guidance and counseling department where we have a team of special educators and counselors. We have incepted a very big teacher training department out here, where regular observations are done in the class by the counselors, by the HMs, by the principal out there. And we, first and foremost, is observation. It's very important to check children in their natural surroundings out there, that these milestones are being met. Sometimes the parents might have come with diagnostic report that this is what is identified. We also have a school doctor and a nurse out there, because at times the needs can be on the medical front also out here. So it is a coordinated effort which goes into it. Part of it is done in the school, where the children or the students may have individual plans worked out. Part of inclusion will be there for maybe sports and other activities. Yes, at times we might have need for shadow teachers in case the need is extreme out there. And yes, it is a very empathetic and sensitive follow-up with all the community. Yes, the teachers need a huge supportive environment, because when you are taking care of academics, you're taking care of sports and other part out there, it's not easy on teachers either, but teachers understand, and maybe because they're trained as well and there's a community which understands better, it's a little easy. But on the family front, wherever it is very supportive, and we are very fortunate. Our parent community is extremely empowered, extremely sensitive, very supportive, and very appreciative of all the initiatives that we do. But I've seen that results might be a little slow, but results come. Yes, so again, it is a little bit of a waiting game, and we have to very consciously and very patiently practice day in and day out. So I think
must compliment you on the work, that wonderful work that you're doing in this line, ma'am. You know, before we started our recording, we were having a general chit chat. In that chit chat, you happened to mention about the geniuses, how to identify genius in each child. Can you please help the viewers, the audience of ours, on this particular aspect, ma'am?
All right. So I'm not going to just talk in general terms. I'm going to talk in specific terms out here. You might have a student who's tremendously good in music out here, and there is a pathway made out for such a student to work out on those levels. So more opportunities to participate. First and foremost, I compliment you on bringing this platform across. Parents in educationists, up till grade 5, we have to give ample opportunities to our students to explore explore, participate in one activity with no expectation that you will bring a medal across, because then that also takes away the joy from so many things. I read a book, I don't expect to be given a medal for every book I read, but I know because there's pleasure in reading, I am hopping over to so many countries in the space of that book without having to buy a ticket, and I'm a richer person for having read that book. Yes, so give them opportunities to participate, and in that participation students will find out where their aptitude and attitudes lie. So there may be somebody who's extremely good at skating, another person who's very good at creative writing, another person who's very good at math, etc. And as you move up the ladder through competitions, because participation in senior classes will transform into competitions, the laurels will start to come. Yes. Now looking into the genius, I had one student who was very good in science and mathematics up till grade 9, and after that his attention moved over to app creation, where the age of app was just being born. Now this student went across, competed in universities and developed apps where he beat senior university students. He got from one country actually an international award, but the 10th marks were nothing much to write about because he was not interested in any other subjects at all. So I reached across to the student and I said that you must take science because anything that you do has a scientific temperament to it. He loved math, he loved physics out there. He disliked chemistry tremendously. So we had to have, short-term goals and shorter modules created for him. Fortunately, he went over to an international university, and over there he's winning laurels in app creation and technology. He has got a very successful YouTube channel out there. So this student, now if you were to go by what marks he scored in grade 10, you wouldn't give him a science stream. He would
In a typical
in a
school.
typical scenario. Yes. And you have so many geniuses like this. So what we have to identify and look at sincerely when we look at a student is, what are you good at? What do you feel good about doing out there? This is the question that we have to ask ourselves. Yes, look into it, and children are very astute in this day and age. They know themselves. At times they know grown-ups better than grown-ups know themselves. So we have
Could
to
you give
trust.
that example of Sachin Tendulkar again, ma'am, please?
I'm very fond of cricket at some levels, though I am not able to play cricket well. But look at Tendulkar. What a wonderful family he came from, where the parents recognized his genius towards the sport of cricket. His coach saw that. His school supported him in this journey out there. He was never benchmarked on academics. He was always benchmarked on what he did in the cricket field. Yes.
Very true.
And that's the reason we have the wonderful Sachin Tendulkar out here, who has made history in the field of cricket and continues to do so, because on so many other platforms also he became a role model. Yes. So I'm sure there's a Tendulkar, I'm sure there's a musician, I'm sure there's a mathematician, I'm sure there is a different kind of genius in all the students, but we should not expect all the students to do all the things at the same point of time. So that is the human intelligence. The world is talking about AI, but where is the wisdom of the ages? Where earlier you had huge families, they saw the talent in one person. Okay, this person is cut out for business, this person is cut out for conversation, so put them into negotiations between families out there. That wisdom of the ages needs to come back to the classroom, to the school out there, because in education certain things are universal. They will remain the same even 500 years from now. And there are certain things which are transient. We need them. Today we need a mobile. Tomorrow that mobile will not be there, because maybe in our palms there will be, those transparent shields which are implanted. So a lot of telepathy is happening. What was spoken in stories will happen in real time.
True.
Yes. So let's change certain things because they're required as per time. But let us not change certain things which were always making us as a family, as an educated community stronger. That we have to hold on to, eating together.
I wish and pray that we have more teachers, more educationists like you, because that would do wonders for our kids, ma'am. And lastly, I would like to say that, I have grown up and I've studied in a traditional school where all of us used to be scared of principals. But meeting you, interacting with you, that That is not there. It is such a comfortable feeling talking to you.
Oh, I'm grateful for this because, I've sat through a lot of conferences where the speakers and the plenary addresses began by saying, I'm so scared to speak because I'm speaking before principals. And most of the principals that I have met or I have collaborated are amazing human beings who are amazing teachers. They are big champions of students, they're big champions of parents, they're big champions of their school community. But there are 90% of their work is the iceberg principle. It can't be seen. It is confidential, yes. So that the 10% which can be seen is to be that when you go to a principal's office, it's an occasion to celebrate. I have done something good. That's why I'm being called there. Or I am being rewarded because I worked hard and I achieved my goal there. So principally, it's my humble request to you and to everybody who's watching that these are great people. They're very astute. They're very wise. They understand the unspoken words behind the spoken words. They understand the sentiment that you come with, and they're able to balance many hats at the same point of time. So please respect them for the task that is being done, and I do hope that we churn out, every principal who's a fantastic principal churns out great principals. I became a principal because I had fantastic principals out there. So it's my ode to them that in an age where package and remuneration and certain other paraphernalia determines your latitude in life, we've chosen to be educationists. And we are a very rich community because our students, our parents, and our teachers make us rich people.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your thoughts with us. This has been extremely insightful conversation. So today, in this episode of Children Plus, I hope our parents, our viewers, our educationists had something to learn about. Thank you so much for watching us, for listening to us. Thank you.